Hey guys, my name's Sam and welcome to Prep Medic. If you are a public safety professional or in the military and are looking for a watch that combines the durability and reliability of a G-Shock with the functionality of an Apple Watch, this video might be for you. This week we are reviewing the Garmin Tactix 7. Alright guys, so bear with me. This is my first ever tech review, and I'll be completely honest, this is probably going to be a dumbed down review compared to the tech reviews that you normally watch, simply because I am not a techie. I use equipment, I use gear, I use things that incorporate technology, but when it comes to the ins and outs of it, I'm not a genius. So this review is going to be my experience with the Garmin Tactix 7, go through some of the features, what I like and what I don't like, and hopefully that gives you a real world perspective on this watch and if this is something you want to invest your money in, because yes, this is an investment. All right, so first and foremost, I did not get sent this watch. I bought this with my own money because I thought it looked really cool. I got a little bit of a discount off Proform, but even so, this is going to be as unbiased as I can make it, just because, I really have nothing in this other than, wanting to confirm my purchase of this watch. Beyond that, I don't believe in leading you guys on. I know you guys have busy lives, so I'm going to go through all the features, but first and foremost, I want to give you just a really quick impression, so if you're in a rush, you can click off this video and go do something else. Mainly, I love this watch because it has almost every single feature of the Apple Watch, which I have carried for years and years, but it comes with really high durability standards that I would compare to a G-Shock watch. Probably not quite this durable, but very, very similar. It's got a month battery life. It's got a flashlight that turns on and off. It tracks all of my movement and activity and has a lot of aviation features, along with an always-on display that shows a second hand, which is a big deal in EMS. So for those reasons, I think this is one of the best watches for EMS, police, fire, and the military. Now, if you want to see a little bit of a larger review and a walkthrough of this watch, let's get into it. All right, so in front of you, I have the Garmin Tactix 7. So this watch is basically a Phoenix 7 in a different casing with a couple extra features. But the screen size, the size of the watch itself, the general capabilities and sensors in this are the same as the Phoenix 7. So if you're familiar with that watch, this is very, very similar. As far as physical specs go, this has a 51 millimeter diameter, so it is a large watch. That being said, I've got like a 5 to 6 inch wrist. It's not super big, and I feel comfortable wearing it. I don't feel like people look at it while I'm wearing it and go, wow, that is a huge watch. But it is a little bit chunkier than I think a lot of people are used to wearing. It's about 15 millimeters thick, so it's got quite a bit of thickness there. It weighs 89 grams, not as much as you would expect a watch this size to weigh. And then it has a titanium bezel around that, along with a titanium backing and a fiber reinforced polymer casing underneath that. It's very sturdy. It also has sapphire glass, and that's the only way you can get this watch. This doesn't mean anything to me, but some of you guys know a little bit more about like toughness standards. It is tested to the military standard 810, which is supposedly means it's really durable. As far as the bands, these come with this silicone band, and it looks like a really rigid band. When I watched reviews on this watch before I bought it, I thought, wow, that thing looks really, really rigid, not very comfortable. I thought it was akin to these old G-Shock bands that are just a hard plastic and ultimately pretty uncomfortable to wear. That being said, when I got it, this is pretty stretchy and it conforms to your wrist very well. You can replace these bands very quickly. They have these quick disconnect features on them. However, these guys are very pricey, as is the watch. These things will run you about $125 to $150 for a new band. So not cheap, and that's about as much as a Fitbit costs. So, think about that moving forward. Beyond that, cost of this watch. This is the Tactix 7 this is the Tactix 7 Standard Edition, sorry. You can also get the Tactix 7 Pro, which is the this watch exactly, except it's got a little ring around the outside that's solar powered. This one is not solar powered. And then you can get the Pro Ballistics, which has the solar ring and then also has applied ballistics built into the watch for advanced shooting. Now, I don't do any long range shooting, and quite frankly, a month of battery life from a smartwatch is more than enough for me, so I didn't feel the need to get solar and spend the extra $200. But that's kind of where it sits. So this model right here costs you about $1,100. Now you can get some Proform deals on that, but they're not going to discount it that much for you most of the time. So it is a very expensive watch, and I totally get it. That is not for everybody. For me, my philosophy is if I'm touching something, using something every day, I'm going to spend some money on it because I like those things to be nice. Things that I don't use quite as often, I'm more prone to skimp on or not spend quite as much money. All right, so sensors in this, and we'll go through individual features, I promise. The sensors in this watch, this has GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, multi-frequency positioning, wrist heart rate monitor, barometric altimeter, compass, gyroscope, accelerometer, thermometer, and then a pulse ox built in on the inside of it. So this is a super advanced watch. Honestly, this probably has about 8 times the amount of technology that the first space shuttle had going into space. So it's pretty remarkable what this has on it and what it's able to do. So battery life. They advertise that this should have about 28 days of battery life with full usage. I've noticed I get about half of that. Realistically, I've been able to go about 2 weeks in between charges. You can see here it's estimating 3 days left. I'm guessing I'll get about 2. So this, as far as I know, is some of the best battery life on any smartwatch out there. I was totally sick of charging my Apple Watch every single night. It was a generation 2, so it wasn't top of the line anymore. I hear people can get like 72 hours out of them max if you don't have a lot of the notifications and sensors on. But with this, I can wear this for weeks and it tracks everything I do, sleep time, wake up. I can set an alarm on this. It'll vibrate my wrist, wake me up. So 28 days of battery life with full usage. If you put it into battery saver mode, they say about 90 days. And I completely believe that. That just shuts down the GPS sensors. It shuts down the heart rate sensor, pulse ox, all of that. So you can get effectively 3 months out of this. And then they have some other things. If you have like GPS only, 89 hours, all satellite systems, 63 hours, all satellite systems plus music, which we'll talk about, 16 hours. And then your expedition GPS mode, you can get up to 62 days with continual usage. So really cool on that front. All right, so going into some of the features, and I'll try to go through a lot of these menus to show you exactly what it does. So a lot of concern has come from people about does this work as well as an Apple Watch does? Does it interface with an Apple phone as well? I'd say no. That's one of the downsides of it. So you can get, as you just saw there, you can get the notifications just like you would on an Apple Watch, but you can't interact with your watch. You can do a find your phone with it, but I can't text back on the watch. I can't do a voice to text or anything like that. So if that's a feature that means a lot to you, this isn't the watch for you. That being said, the only thing I do to interact with my phone, even on my Apple Watch, was I would do the little ding to find my phone, and this does have that feature. So it does interface well, but not quite the same. Now, as far as other features go, you have a couple different dial options. Now, this is a full touchscreen, which is one of the reasons I finally decided to pull the trigger on a Garmin watch, because before this, it was only button operation. That being said, now that I have this, the button operation is pretty easy, and I find myself doing that almost as much as just touching the screen. So, take that for what it's worth. As far as customization on the home screen, you can obviously go and find different watch faces. So they have a lot of them built in, and you can customize each one. So you've got all of these options, second hands, and then you can change what data is around them. I would say that there's probably more options than the Apple Watch has, because you can also go on their store and basically get third-party watch faces that other people have created. And I think that's a really cool option to have. So I honestly have just been sticking with this guy right here, and it's worked pretty well for me. You can change the colors up, you can change the font size, fonts, you can put second hands on it. It all works really well. As far as the widgets around it, you can long press on any of these, and you're going to go into the menu pretty easily. You can scroll through and see a lot of different items as you go. For your general fitness tracking, which is honestly what I use this for most of the time, like, yes, it is great for public safety, but fitness is a huge part of public safety in the military. So a lot of us, I feel like, want something that can track those, at least track our runs, see how far we're going, look at calories burned or heart rate during different activities, see all of that. So this has those features in spades. And honestly, it does a better job of tracking those things than the Apple Watch does. So you can come into this menu and can just scroll down. And these are just the ones I have activated. It has a ton more. We can go down here, and here's some extras that I don't do a ton of. But then we can go to the add icon, and you can see like all of these different options they have for different sports. And this takes into account, it's more than just an algorithm that looks at heart rate and estimates your calories burned. This will track a lot more as you do it. So there's a lot of different options in there depending on what you want to do. For me, all I want is your runs, your walks, hikes, and bikes. That's what I'm doing most of the time in here. Now, one of the cool things is that not a lot of other watches do is the strength training icon. You can do a lot of different things on it, but if you just go to the free one, it will actually track your reps. So if we start a workout here, it'll give me a set. Now you can just go through workout, and this is going to track it as you go, and it's going to do a pretty good job. But if you want really accurate tracking of your lifts, this will count every rep you do, and it's actually going to look at it and try to figure out what it is. I've noticed it's right about 75% of the time, but afterwards when I finish the exercise, I can go back into the app and correct it and tell it, no, you missed this part. This is what it was. This is the weight I did. So as we come in, it's looking at reps because it thinks I'm doing like a push-up or something. I can hit that. We can edit reps in here if we want. We could edit our weight as we go if we wanted, and then rest time. So it'll calculate how much time you were active and how much time you weren't going forward. So it's kind of cool tracking on that. If you want to just hit it, forget it, that works as well. So we're just going to stop that. And then we're going to discard the workout once that pops up. Really cool tracking on that. I've noticed that the GPS positioning for your runs is spot on. The treadmill estimation of distance is spot on. And when you finish it, it will allow you to enter in what you actually did, and it helps calibrate it. For HIIT workouts, it's got a bunch of timers on it, so you can set a EMOM, Tabata, or customize the timers, and it's going to track and notify you what you do. You can also just do free, and that's going to work as well. For things like your run or any of these, you can actually customize what data you see on the screen. So if you don't want to see certain things or you want to see other metrics, this will allow you to do it. This also has map features, so it's going to navigate you. If you do need a route or if you're getting a little bit lost, you can see where you're running, and it'll give you a trail to follow backwards. Now, this would not be the Tactix without a couple dedicated tactical features. So there is a widget in here called Tactical, and this just basically tracks movements and gives you a lot of information. How far have you traveled? What all do you need in here? So you can see this one I have custom set up. So you've got the GPS or the compass on top. You've got like the temperature outside, the elevation, your lat long, your timer if you want to do it, and then your time of day. But you can also switch that up and see different screens here. Now, it's not getting a GPS location because I'm in my basement, so it's not going to give you anything there. But it does have this feature, which is kind of cool if you're doing like a tactical movement or a drill in the mountains or something. This will give you a lot of important information and then track your metrics as you go. Other things this has that this really gets into the helicopter EMS specific or the flight specific features. It has a fly icon, which I think is super cool. And I actually compared the readout on this to the altimeter and everything in the helicopter, the actual avionics, and it's spot on. I really saw this as almost identical with just a couple seconds lag between the two. You can have a lot of different things here, but you can have your ground speed, your altimeter, and this isn't just like a GPS altimeter. This is actually a pressure altimeter. So if you're in a pressurized cabin, it's not going to work quite as well. But for like an unpressurized helicopter like we're flying in, it tells us exactly how high we are. That's important for like, do we have to go on oxygen? Do we have to put the pilot on oxygen? We have a lot of different policies for that. And then once again, this has a lot of different readouts in it, including the NexRad radar, which is kind of cool. It gives you weather and all of that as you fly. Pretty easy to use. You can zoom in, zoom out. I'm not going to zoom in too much just because, I'm at home and I don't need everybody tracking where I am. But this will also navigate you to different airports. So a lot of really cool features in this. Does this replace avionics? No, it absolutely doesn't. Is it kind of nice as the medical crew that's flying along to see where we're going, what our altitude is? Yes. Is it a need? Absolutely not. So I want to make that clear that this isn't going to navigate the helicopter for us. It's not going to, help me get this to the ground if we get in a really bad situation, but it is something that's kind of cool to have, and it tracks your flights. So I've been able to go on and see how far did I fly today? How long were we up there? And then while I'm flying, it's also tracking my SpO2, and it'll give me a warning if that drops, and it's tracking my heart rate. So if it goes really high, if I'm getting really stressed out, it's going to give me a warning. Where stress management in flight EMS is super important, and I really like that feature. Another thing we have is if we get dispatched, they'll give us a heading and a distance, and obviously it's not going to work right now, but I can do the projected waypoint, and it's going to give me what my estimated time en route is and all of that great thing. So a lot of features there. For the search and rescue part of this, there's some really, I'm saying cool features a ton. I need to stop saying that. I'm sorry, I'm perseverating. So for search and rescue and some of the special operations things I do, the Track Me feature is amazing. So I can go in here and it's just going to start tracking me as I go. And then it will allow me to have breadcrumbs to come back to, so I'm not going to be getting lost. If I get to the victim, what's cool is I can hit this button up here. It's going to acquire GPS, and then it will give me a readout of my lat long really quick. I can radio that in for a helicopter extraction, or other team members, they can put that in their GPS and move towards me. So that's something that's really cool to have on here. It's just really easy to get to. All right, so that's your general overview of a lot of these features in here. You can also navigate different places, so you can do a flight plan. That's fine. It's not something I'm going to do. You can find, it'll generate a running path around you if you're I want to run a 10K. It'll plot a course around you. I haven't used that because I don't know what it's going to route me through. I don't know if it's going to route me through a really bad part of town, or, somewhere where I just don't want to be running a busy street, but that's there if you're in a weird place. You can also do sight and go, which this is kind of cool, where it will allow you to shoot an azimuth, and then it will lock onto that. And as you go, it will tell you how far off course you are and where you need to go to get back to it. It will even show you it on a map. Or you can just use the map, and you can go sight. I have to blur that out now. You can go sight somewhere. I can be I want to go here, click on the map, and it will automatically navigate me to that point. So this really takes it from something that's nice to have to an actual tool you can use. This is a GPS unit. Is it the most advanced GPS unit on the planet? Absolutely not. But for something that's a wearable, it actually has some very real world uses in that regard. All right, so that's your activity planning up there. Now on this side, we have all of these menus. Now, this is probably my least favorite menu. It's the hardest to navigate, and I think it really came from when it was just a button press capability and it wasn't touchscreen. Doing this gets a little bit confusing. You can just hit things. But there's a lot of features in here that are, once again, kind of cool. So one of the coolest features, and some people think it's gimmicky, I absolutely don't, because I use this daily on the job and at home. It has a flashlight on it. So the Tactix has a green light. Now the green light here, this is to not bloom night vision goggles. We can use this in the cockpit of the helicopter at night while everybody's under night vision goggles. I don't usually do much looking in the cabin with those goggles. I'll look under them. But if I need to read a piece of paper or confirm something or a measurement on the patient's tube, something like that, I can turn on the green light, and then I'm not blooming the pilot's goggles with massive white light. But if I don't want the green light, then it has a white light flashlight, and that's lowest setting, higher, higher, and highest. It's not the most blinding light in the planet, but honestly, I can do my walk around and illuminate the entire helicopter with this. Works really well. So the flashlight feature, I think, is one of the coolest things it has. And it has a memory. So if I set it for the green light and we go back to the main menu, I can just double click up here, it turns it off, and then double click again, it turns it on. So you don't have to navigate a ton of different menus to get there. And you can set these fast keys for whatever you want. It's really easy to do, to just set little combinations to get you where you need to go. For military people, this has some like tactical features that really don't matter to me at all. It's got stealth mode. So this is a mode where you'll go into it and it will still like track distance, all of that, but it won't save any like location information. So, you know, you're doing movements behind enemy lines, they can't track you back to where you came from. You know, okay. That's not something I need whatsoever, but it's an option there. You also have a kill switch, which basically will wipe the entire watch's memory. It's not going to like destroy the watch or anything. It just, if you have anything stored on it, it's going to go away, and then nobody can track you at all. So those are some of the features in here. It does have an assistance button, and I have this linked to a Garmin InReach, so this can send a distress call from my watch. This does have Wi-Fi on it. I can do direct navigation too, and then broadcast heart rate. So if you're using like a Peloton tread or something like that, like I have, you can broadcast your heart rate and use this as a heart rate monitor for one of those. It doesn't connect to the Peloton, like you don't get that workout on here, but it will display your heart rate up on the screen, which is kind of cool. So this menu, you can customize it any way you want. It does have like a wallet feature. You type in a code and do it. It's not as easy as Apple Pay because this watch doesn't lock once it's off your wrist. So you still have to enter a code for that. All right, so a couple other features. As we come down through the watch, this is your glances. So these are just a bunch of apps that you can customize what you see. It can give you a lot of information. So for flights, this is my favorite, is I can go over here. I have a favorite airport saved, or you can do nearest airport, and it will give me the major flight information that I need. So this is all the information on these two screens that the pilot is making their determination of go or no go as far as weather. So we can see where the wind's coming from. It's 8 knots. Visibility is 10 statute miles. The sky is clear. It's VFR conditions there. And then we can see the temp and the dew point, because that comes in a little bit more handy during the winter here. So a lot of different info on these screens you could do. Now, one of the things I don't like about this is this does have, sorry, did the wrong button there. This does have the TAF, but I can't change the airport. So this is like stuck in Kansas, I believe, and I don't know how to change this to a favorite airport to get the future airport data. I think it's a glitch where it's not going over. So there are some issues with the watch there. I've got weather in here, sunrise, sunset. This is like predicting my VO2 max, and then what I'd be able to run a 5K in based on my performance. All of that stuff is right there. One feature this has that the Apple Watch doesn't is this will monitor your heart rate 24/7. So it doesn't ever stop, which is really cool, and it still has that battery life. And then we have, like, you can see your last activity, body battery. There's some metrics it gives you that are like proprietary to Garmin. I don't put much stock in them. You can see my great sleep I had last night on my 24-hour shift, and I like the sleep tracking because it shows me how bad I do sometimes, and what being a parent has done to me. But basically, it gives me like my sleep duration. I've noticed this is pretty accurate for what I do, and then it gives you a little duration summary there. The pulse ox, I have this set for a spot check so that it's not draining battery, but it will measure you periodically, and you can make it do it all the time or just at night if you're struggling with sleep apnea. Calendar, notifications. Notifications are clunky with this, to tell you the truth, because in an Apple Watch, I can just swipe down. I can see all the notifications there, swipe up, and they go away. On this one, I can't do that. So a lot of different things. Now, this goes into more of the tool thing. We've got the altimeter. We've got a barometer. In theory, this will tell me when it's about to storm. It's worked once. It didn't work another time. So, take it with a grain of salt. And then another cool feature is you can link your AirPods or any Bluetooth headset directly to this, download albums into your watch, and you can go for a run without your phone on you, which is pretty cool. Now, this all interfaces with the Garmin phone app, which is good. It can be kind of hit or miss. And I'll put some screen captures up of that as well. So here you have the app. It's pretty easy to use, but sometimes I find things get lost in it. So it gives me a live readout. On the Apple side of things, you can't close this app out. You can't swipe out, get rid of it, or it won't be syncing between the two. I haven't had an issue with it, to tell you the truth, but this gives me just all my information and I can go in a little bit more in depth. Now, I can take workouts. I meant to talk about this earlier. I can take workouts and put them on my watch. So we've got like a 10-minute body AMRAP. I can start it, and it's going to give me the workout on the watch. So it'll even show me how to do the exercise as we're going. A little bit gimmicky, but kind of cool if you got 5 minutes at the station. There aren't that many workouts programmed in the app, so you are slightly limited, but you can also make your own, which is kind of cool going forward. So if that's something that's important to you, cool feature, but not necessarily like a must-have in my opinion. One last feature that I absolutely forgot to talk about. If you are way cooler than me and you are jumping out of airplanes on a regular basis, this does have a Jump Master, a watch mode on it. I don't think this is going to replace the altimeter you wear on your wrist, but you can program those jumps in there. I know nothing about the settings for these, so I don't know anything about this. I don't want to jump out of an airplane. That's not something I'm going to do. But if that's something you do, hey, that feature is in the watch. So I hope this was a good overview. I hope you're not completely bored with it. But if you have any questions about this watch or anything I talked about today, leave them in the comments down below, and I will see you next week.